What is up there, beautiful people, and welcome to another edition of Just Trending News. So today I'm bringing you everything in regards to the man that is expected to be sentenced today, I believe, for raping around 100 women between the time of 2012 to 2021. So I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw a tweet by the instigator that said, Nkosinathi Phakathi, who is 32 years old, admitted to nearly 100 rapes of 9 to 20-year-old girls. His reign of terror lasted almost a decade from June 2012 to February 2021. He lost one of his legs after being shot while fleeing police in March of 2021. He is getting sentenced today, okay? And after I saw that tweet, I obviously had to get more information regarding this Nkosinathi Phakathi person. So I'm going to be reading from an article from IOL, okay? It says, the Pretoria High Court sitting in Palm Ridge has sentenced Nkosinathi Emmanuel Phakathi to 42 life terms in jail after he was previously found guilty of 90 counts of rape, 4 counts of compelled rape, 3 counts of compelling or causing a child to witness a sexual act, 43 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of assault, as well as 4 counts of theft. Phakathi committed the cocktail of heinous offences in and around Ekurhuleni from 2012 until 2021 when he was arrested. On Friday, the court read out more than 42 life terms for Phakathi. In essence, the sentences will serve concurrently, which means Phakathi will serve life in prison. So the majority of his victims were school-going children, the youngest being 9 years old, while the oldest was a 44-year-old female, someone stated. Okay, it says initially Phakathi was facing 203 charges. However, the state withdrew 55 minor charges. In court, Phakathi pleaded guilty to 148 charges and his guilty plea statement was read in court. The serial rapist targeted his victims while they were going or coming back from school or work in the mornings or evenings. However, he targeted some in their own homes. He would pretend to be an electrician coming to fix a geyser or other household appliances and rape them. He raped some of his victims in the presence of the children. In some instances, when raping more than one person at a time, he made the other watch while raping the other, whereafter he would run or leave the house, okay? The article then goes on to say, Phakathi was arrested and linked to some of the offences through DNA evidence and a modus operandi linkage report. Someone said a total of 96 dockets were investigated by Warrant Officer Tlala John Mukwena of the South African Police Services. The sentence must be as harsh as possible for this animal. The courts must lock him up and throw away the key. We have just concluded the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Summit, and the President Cyril Ramaphosa was sounding very performative. He was saying all the right things, but what is needed now is action on the ground. Secretary General of the Not In My Name, Themba Msango, told IOL. Very harsh sentences need to be given out so that these perpetrators can be afraid. They need to be deterred from committing these heinous crimes, okay? Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was an article by IOL, obviously speaking of these heinous crimes that were committed by Nkosinathi Phakathi, who is going to be spending effectively the rest of his life in prison. In South Africa, it does get a bit iffy when it comes to that terminology because one life sentence is 25 years. And so in South Africa, most of the time prisoners do not serve the full life sentence, but are actually eligible for parole after having served half of the life sentence term. So that would be maybe about 12 and a half years. So I'm not sure, especially since it's saying that all of his crimes will be running concurrently. Okay, so I don't know, maybe someone who is educated or knowledgeable on the law can educate me on this. If they've given him effectively, I'm just making an example, 10 or 403 life sentences or whatever, I'm just making an example, then, and they're all running concurrently, then, and one life term is equal to 25 years, then how much time is this person really going to spend in prison? I do know that in the American sort of law or judicial system, things do run differently. They do have the option to say you will serve your life in prison without the possibility of parole. When they read the statement, I did not hear them say that he would be spending life without the possibility of parole. But as I'm saying, I do not know. There are obviously at this point, I think, conflicting articles and reference points and, pieces of information that I have been picking up. But I don't want to make too much of a statement as to how much time he's actually going to spend in prison. But absolutely, absolutely nonsensical. There was a statement by the Secretary General that said, "Not in my name," that spoke about the Femicide Act, or that President Cyril Ramaphosa was, sort of putting into action. But I think what was most important about what he said was that we don't need words at this point. We need the groundwork. We need to put these people in prison, and we need to make sure that proper policies and the proper laws are followed when people commit heinous crimes such as these. Admitting to about 100 rapes in a 10-year span, and nobody caught this person for an entire 10 years, raping people from as young as 9 years old all the way up until 44. This man had a reign of terror for 10 years and nobody was able to catch him out, And they did say that they're giving him all of these life terms and various terms for the various other, offenses that he committed. But like I said, we're not sure how much time he's actually going to be spending in prison, because all of these terms or prison sentences will be running concurrently, meaning they'll be running at the same time. And if he's been sentenced to, for example, 100 life sentences, just making an example, and they're all running concurrently, in my personal opinion, that's just one life term. And one life term in South Africa, you're eligible for parole after you've completed half of it. From what I know and from as far as my knowledge reaches, like I'm saying, please do correct me if I'm wrong, a life term in South Africa is 25 years. I do speak under correction. But if I'm correct in saying that a life term is 25 years and that all of these sentences will be running concurrently, then we've got a big problem on our hands. We really, really do have a big problem on our hands. And that is why a lot of people are calling for the death penalty. And whenever we call and advocate for the death penalty, you always have these people saying, what about people's constitutional rights? What about the Constitution? What about the right to life? These criminals have absolutely no regard of the South African Constitution or of the right to life when they are committing these heinous crimes. So why should we as the public, why should our laws have any regard for their human life if someone can ruin over 100 people's lives? And when we advocate for the death penalty and the death sentence in South Africa, we're being pointed to the right for one's life. That is absolutely insane. So his right of life in South Africa surpasses those 100 people's lives that he has ruined. Because essentially, if you go through something as traumatic as a rape, we do know that people do live, but you live with an eternal trauma. Your life will never be the same again. There's a certain part of you that gets ruined. There's a certain innocence, in essence, that's taken away from you that you can never ever get back. And so his right to life is bigger than the right to life that all of those 100 people had when he was violating them. We really do need to have serious conversations. Also, like I said, I'm not too sure about anything that was said in regards to the life imprisonment, the possibility of life without parole. I did not study law, but according to my knowledge, a life term in South Africa is 25 years. And from what I know, I've never studied law in my life, but what I know is that when they say sentences are running concurrently, it means they're all running at the same time. So if you're given 100 life sentences, those 100 life sentences are running at the same time, right? And so if you've got 100 life sentences, a life sentence is 25 years, they're all running concurrently. Effectively, you're going to do at most 25 years in prison, and you're eligible for parole at 12.5 years. And that for me is a problem. But tell me what you think about this in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next upload.